Welcome back to the ALC ChangeMakers Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Sconyers. On today's episode, I have Maria Kammur, co-owner of Stradaji, an IT consulting firm that's changing the game for nonprofits, small businesses, and government organizations. But what makes Maria and her work truly special is that she doesn't just focus on technology, she focuses on people. She merges human-centered design with innovative tech solutions to help organizations scale, grow, and thrive. In this episode, we're diving into her unique approach to IT consulting, unpacking the AI conversation that's reshaping how organizations operate, and exploring what it really takes to build solutions that stick. Whether you're running an organization, managing teams, or simply curious about how technology can empower your mission, you won't want to miss this conversation. Stick around to learn how Stradaji is journeying with clients to turn their technology challenges into opportunities for growth. Let's dive in. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the ALC ChangeMakers Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Sconyers, and today I have Maria Kammur. Maria and I were in the same 10K SB cohort that a lot of my friends on. They're in that cohort, an amazing group. And I'm so excited to have Maria. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, for listeners, tell them about your journey and Stradaji and where that unique name came from.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. So I'm Maria Kammur. I am from Columbus, Ohio, and grew up here, really traveled and studied in different places. And it really gave me a greater appreciation for our community here in Columbus. I studied I have a master's in public administration and love the humanities and studied in the humanities. So naturally, that route leads you to co-owning an IT consulting firm. So my husband and I started Stradaji in 2019. A fun marketer once told me Stradaji rhymes with prodigy, so stick to that. But really, it comes from our family backgrounds. So strada is path in Italian, and G is respectfully yes in Urdu. So we have lumped these together to create a word because it's what we do. We create technology roadmaps.
Yeah.
We journey with our clients and implementations to realize so they get better and scale.
I love that. So for listeners, just to understand your work, I remember in class, you always had such an interesting, it was like, you did the technology piece, but you also mapped the human experience. And that feels unique because I don't know if I've met too many folks who do both of those things well or have a company that does both of those things well. Can you tell our listeners a bit about the thinking and the process of how you all view your work and how you really engage with your clients?
Of course. Thanks for that question. So first, I would say we curate technology solutions. Mm-hmm. So we're solving business problems with technology. And everything that we do is really centered around 4 values. So we are attentive, we are intentional, we are precise, and we are collaborative. So the technology is the tool, but it's really human-centered design. Those connections are important. So when we are working with our partners, we want to understand those pain points, understand what are their business workflows, where do they want to go? So here you are today. We understand all those warts and inefficiencies, but where is it that you're looking to go? And you may know that. We may also be able to say, as technologists, as subject matter experts, have you thought about X, Y, and Z, right? Like today, we have the data, data strategy in place. We put together great visualizations and reporting for you. What about predictive analytics? How can we pull that piece in? So it's really creating things that work for the teams, but also they can scale, they can grow, they're future forward. You want to make an important and great investment, and it should add value.
Yeah, I love that value add. And it sounds like something that can grow with that business or entity, that could be sustainable. It's built, it's part of what they do, right? It's a part of like the rhythms and the systems. That's really interesting and fascinating. What are some, when you think about the types of groups you work with, I'd love to hear like the types of clients, but are there just, I don't know, like typical challenges that you'll see with them? Or are there certain ways people say, I need help with X? That signals that they need strategy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we work with nonprofits. We work with small and medium-sized businesses. We work with government. And when I think about common challenges, there's no shortage of platforms and tools to fix things. Those platforms don't automatically talk to each other. So integrating those systems so that they talk and you can gain efficiencies, it helps reduce the manual work. And we even automate workflows. Excel is a wonderful tool, but the person need to be copying and pasting or manually. You have errors there. They could be doing other work, right? So integrating systems is something that we do a lot of. We hear a lot about artificial intelligence and generative AI, right? Gen AI. And in order to really leverage those tools well, it's a data strategy conversation. Where is your data today? How can we help prepare you and then identify those use cases? In order to leverage them. It could also be maybe there's a portal or a system that needs more robust functionality. Could be things like this. But another piece is with platforms, think about the pain point or the problem, then the platform. The platform comes. So another piece is just whether we're adding bandwidth or adding that technical expertise to say, we now understand your organization because we've taken that time to build the relationship. You've told us who are those key stakeholders to interview. And so then we can go into conversations with the technology piece to say, we can serve as your technical representative. You know your business better than anyone, but we'll be able from the technology side to vet it and say, yes, this can be leveraged, or maybe this commercially off the shelf solution works to a certain point, but needs to be customized. And then we journey with you to figure that.
I love all that. It's just so thoughtful in terms of the steps that you all are taking. And I'm hearing when you say, understanding like the challenge, and then you can figure out what's the technology solution as opposed to the opposite. People might want a technology solution, but it doesn't match their need or their challenge.
It's credited to our team. I mean, we really have a wonderful team. They communicate well. We're curious. We ask questions. I was in a meeting this morning, and it's just really neat to hear different roles and perspectives because they have a different piece of that project, right? But teamwork makes the dream work. So action.
I love that. We're all about cohesive teams here at ALC. Team relationship, that's the core of our work. So loving to hear that's also really true for you all. You mentioned AI. I'm curious in terms of there's this AI conversation. So for listeners, we have a guest you've already heard from, Cheryl Conti, who talks about AI for nonprofits. So get her book, understand that you're in that space. But I'm really curious from your vantage point, what does the AI conversation look like for you all when you're working with an entity or a client, like in terms of how they're maybe wrestling with their systems? I
think it's a great point. AI has really been our largest shift since the cloud, right? And it has been around, but I think it's more available, right, for the day-to-day person. So we think of AI as like a system that kind of mimics that human decision-making. And when you have Gen AI, it's really creating something new. And in order to leverage this technology, we have to think first about data. So what is that data strategy? And then to understand there are many tools out there, but do they serve your needs? And you bring them in, what's the cost? What's the maintenance cost for those? Certainly being mindful of budgets, it's also what's the expertise needed for that maintenance? Is it something that a team can be upskilled to then do in-house or not? So we have those important conversations to understand, like, is it an AI chatbot? What value is added there? And can we do a proof of concept, right? So maybe it's an executive director that is asking for some questions because they don't readily have a dashboard or reports for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
We can implement like a test proof of concept case to say, let's enable this for your executive team. Let's see what questions they ask. It's your organization's data that has been put into that system. And then we can also log those questions to determine, is this a good spend moving forward? What is that ROI? So we're really about doing that groundwork first.
Yeah.
We're just jumping in and then crossing our fingers. We don't love it,
I love it. It's such like a thoughtful, tactical, practical approach to find the right set of solutions. And I can only imagine, Maria, like as you are doing some inquiries, there's a lot you could learn that could really inform what that solution ultimately is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Well, you mentioned you work a lot with nonprofits and small businesses. We're an interesting timeline where we've had so many things happening. For listeners recording this during what's going to be the government shutdown, so that has an impact. There were DOGE cuts. I know the groups that we've supported, ALC, who are nonprofits, have been impacted in terms of federal funding. That's a thing happening, right? So I'm curious if there's any ways that's been impacting you, or if you've had to adjust or just maybe shift or change how you do the work, just given some of these things happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for this question. And yes, we have to not be tone deaf to the times, right?
Yeah.
And so understanding that budget, which is always critical in every organization, but certainly nonprofits, right? Anytime you are responsible to those you serve, to the board, like you want to have that fiscal responsibility and accountability. And so for us, again, we're taking that time to do the due diligence up front, but there are budget cuts and we see what's that scope? What can we deliver that's a value add given the constraints? And I feel really proud of our team for being able to do that. Part of Strada, right? The path strategy. You're not creating a transformation in a day. It takes and it can also be phased. So we understand the constraints around this needs to be spent before fiscal year end, or can we prepare so that we understand so that we can appropriately budget for the next fiscal year? Like we're doing that. And none of that is new. I mean, we're always doing it. So I think certainly we understand from our partners that this is a difficult time. And we do just check in to say, hey, we created that technology roadmap. It's a living document, right, that complements your strategic plan. But we also recognize this is a difficult time. Than others, perhaps.
Yeah, I totally get that. And you mentioned strategic plans. I know at ALC, we do strategic planning, oftentimes for nonprofits. And what's interesting is in a normal situation, normal times and times are not normal, right? You do the plan. It's maybe 3 to 5 years. You do every 6 months, there's an update to check in on the plan. You know what I mean? It's kind of like very methodical. And there's a way that we would do planning that I think attuned to that in the past, right? And so you'd have, like, we do a landscape analysis, interviews, and then we do the vision, mission, values, and those were tight. And then we'd set the goals. And I have to be honest, in looking at the current timeline we're on, it's not to say that those things aren't important. You should know your mission. You should really know your values and how to operationalize them. That's how we look at ALC. You should set goals. But it also feels like what's required is a nimbleness, number one. And also what we're noticing is it's not just about like, here's the plan. People are asking their own way, like, how do we pivot in the plan? Like, can we have benchmarks that we know we can pivot or adjust given the timetable? I'm super curious. I know we haven't worked together yet, but I know we want to sometime in the future. I'm super curious on the technology side, if there is a way to really do that, because what I'm picking up on is the nimbleness and agility people are hungry for that was always needed, but it just feels like it's really it now. So I'm just super curious in the technology side, if there's a way to really support that for organizations.
Yeah, it's a great question. So we love to work with organizations that have that strategic plan in place because you're getting everyone to row in the same direction. So we can have that champion that we're talking to, but we also want to understand from others, like, are we going in the same direction?
Yes.
So that as we hear those pain points, as we put together the solution, we know that it's going to support the future that this organization wants to drive in. So I would say, yes, understanding the times when we put together that technology roadmap, that complements the strategic plan, we're really looking at short-term wins and long-term gains along the way. So we don't really want to be in a situation where it's months and months and months of work without seeing that return. It's important. And we also know with our partners, like doing more with less, you need to see that value. So there is always an opportunity to be flexible and adjust. I mean, it's really part of the software development lifecycle too. We have accountability built in. We have project manager. We're really checking in to say, where are we? How much time is left? Like holding that accountability is really at the forefront and having those conversations. So we have been in implementations where we've had our project champion say, hey, we planned to totally get this piece and this piece live, but it is no longer possible in this quarter. So how can we adjust and what can we do, right? And so have those conversations, and as a good partner, we make that work in the most responsible way possible. We let them know, if you don't implement this, like we don't want to have any sort of cybersecurity risk. Yeah. We don't want good money spent that is not spent. So we just have those honest conversations. I think that's really trust and respect. So we've built that trust and respect. You have that honesty and say, hey, let's pare it back. Here's what's possible. And then we can pick that back up. And this is what it might look like.
I love that. So that adaptability is what I'm hearing to make sure the client gets what they need. It's meeting their needs. You're being sensitized to where they are, the shifts that are occurring, budget changes, like all the things. It sounds like your team is just super attuned to, which is really cool to hear. I'm really curious, Maria, for people like they've never maybe looked for a technology solution before, right? That's just like so outside their scope.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know where to start. What would you recommend? Like, what would be, I don't know, a pain point or a signal that maybe a technology solution might help?
Yeah, great question. So the signal, I think, and we really love to map things.
Yeah.
Think about what are those pain points that you have, and whether you're doing it mentally or writing it down or whatever. What are those pain points?
Yeah.
And then how much time is that taking you? Right. And can you have conversations with others to see like, what's that downstream impact? Because maybe as one single person, it's frustrating not to have like a grants management solution, right? Because there are a lot of folks in the mix that there's dependencies there, right? But oftentimes there might just be one grant writer and we need this by this date, all of those things, right? So understanding the full scope of that pain point by having that open dialogue. And if there are pain points where you're finding them to be frequent.
Yeah.
They take a lot of time. It's not free. What is the cost of that? And then also, how does that drain an individual in their own joy for their work? Because sometimes like that can't really be quantified, but it's also important.
Yeah.
We would really say quantified. Is when we look at hard and fast numbers, if we would be collaborating with the client and say, hey, if you want a grants management solution, right? Whether it is something commercially off the shelf available, which we can help vet based on your needs, or you want us to work with you and design a more customized solution, pre-award, post-award, full auditing trail, all of those pieces, understanding like, what's that cost? And coming back to numbers to say, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Well, when you're armed with, okay, it's costing this person this many hours in a day, or every week it's this bucket of hours or monthly, and you can quantify that, right? Based on salary, benefits, those types of things. And then understand like, well, if those folks weren't bogged down in that work, how can their mission be louder? What can they do? What are they empowered to do?
Yeah.
The solution is helping.
Yeah.
And having those conversations, I think that might be a good way to be prepared to kind of see now it's time to really look at leveraging technology more for our operations.
Yeah, I really love that because I think people don't know what they need until they like kind of name like, well, what has me challenged or what has me bogged down, their energy, their team's energy. Where are you spending your time?
What do you want to see? Like, what's the outcome? Like, if you wave a magic wand, what are you looking for? And then let's bring it down to reality.
Yeah, I love that. Well, where can people find you, Maria? Like, if they want to learn more about Stradaji and your services, where should they go?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So please visit our website. We are at stradaji.com. So that's Strada, STRADA, and GJI.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn, and you have my name. So connect with me. I'm a real human. Would love to make that connection. And so would our team.
I love that. Well, this has just been really awesome. Thank you so much, Maria. Do you have any parting thoughts or words of wisdom before we close out?
I just really appreciate the time today. And I know with your audience primarily being our nonprofit partners, small businesses, like what you do is important, right? You're either starting an organization or working in an organization because you have that expertise and because you have that passion, but you don't have to go it alone. So leverage those partners when it's appropriate, and best to you. Keep up the good work.
Love this. Well, thank you so much, Maria. And for our listeners, you can always find more information in this podcast episode on jennifersconyers.com. Until next time. Thank you so much for joining us on the ALC ChangeMakers Podcast. If you found today's conversation inspiring or helpful, we'd love it if you'd subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps other changemakers like you find our show. At Abundance Leadership Consulting, we believe in building sustainable leadership and connected communities through justice, courage, and care. And that mission extends beyond individual leaders. It shapes the way we guide entire organizations through some of their bigger decisions. If your nonprofit is exploring a merger or acquisition, or even just starting to wonder if it might be on the right path, ALC is here to help you navigate that journey with integrity. Our signature fabric approach, fairness-centered accountability through belonging, relationships, inclusion, and collaboration, is a multi-phase process designed specifically for nonprofit organizations. Whether you're brand new to the idea of mergers and acquisitions, or you've been through the process before, we meet you where you are. You can learn more and book a complimentary fabric discovery call at nonprofit-ma.com. For leadership resources, tools, and to connect with our broader community, visit jennifersconyers.com. Until next time, keep leading with purpose, keep building relationships that matter, and keep creating change one bold step at a time.